Welcome back to Next Chapter Audio, where we explore the darkest chapters in human history. Today we're delving into some of the most disturbing true crime books ever written. These are the stories that don't just reveal the horrific crimes, they get under your skin and stay with you long after you've finished reading. Be warned, these books may leave you questioning what you thought you knew about evil. You might not want to read these twice, or even once. Number 10, The Last Victim by Jason Moss. The Last Victim isn't just another true crime book. It's the chilling account of a young man's dangerous journey into the minds of some of America's most notorious serial killers. Jason Moss, a college student, began writing letters to killers like John Wayne Gacy, Richard Ramirez, Henry Lee Lucas, and Jeffrey Dahmer as part of a research project. What started as a curious attempt to understand these men soon spiraled into something much darker. Moss formed a disturbingly close relationship with Gacy, the infamous killer clown, responsible for torturing and murdering 33 young men and boys. Gacy, a master manipulator, slowly began to break down Moss's defenses, creeping into his thoughts and making it harder for him to keep Gacy's monstrous nature in perspective. Moss said of the relationship, "It made me sick to my stomach to read about what he did to those kids, how he tortured them and raped them for hours and sometimes days. And then you talk to him. It's hard to keep in perspective who he is when you speak to him every single day. Gacy was part of my life." The deeper Moss delved into Gacy's psyche, the more it took a toll on his own mental health. Tragically, Moss became what he called Gacy's last victim. On June 6, 2006, Jason Moss died by suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound that ended his life. His book, co-authored with counseling professor Jeffrey Kotler, serves as a grim reminder of how dangerous it can be to get too close to the darkness inside these killers. The Last Victim is not only disturbing because of the crimes described, but also because it shows the psychological impact that comes with attempting to understand pure evil. It leaves readers questioning how far is too far when it comes to studying the minds of serial killers. Number 9, The Basement. Meditations on a Human Sacrifice by Kate Millett. The Basement is a book that dives into one of the most heartbreaking and horrific cases in American true crime history, the torture and murder of 16-year-old Sylvia Likens. This case is often considered one of the most disturbing examples of cruelty ever committed, and Kate Millett's book captures that horror in a way that is both raw and deeply unsettling. In October 1965, Indianapolis police discovered Sylvia's mutilated body. Her stomach had been carved with the words, "I am a prostitute and proud of it," a grotesque testament to the unimaginable abuse she had endured. Sylvia had been left in the care of Gertrude Banishevsky, a woman who subjected her to 3 months of relentless torment. During those months, Likens was beaten, starved, and tortured in ways that defy comprehension. Banishevsky didn't act alone. She coerced her children and other neighborhood kids into participating in the abuse. They forced Sylvia to eat her own feces, burned her with cigarettes and boiling water, and even used a cast on Banishevsky's broken wrist as a weapon to beat her further. Kate Millett spent 14 years obsessing over the details of this horrific case, and The Basement is the product of that fascination. The book reads like a real-life horror story, recounting every moment of Sylvia's tragic ordeal. Millett's haunting meditation on this human sacrifice goes beyond recounting the facts, delving into the deeper psychological horrors of human cruelty. This book is not for the faint of heart. It's a deeply disturbing read, guaranteed to leave a lasting mark on anyone who dares to open its pages. Number 8, Small Sacrifices, a true story of passion and murder by Ann Rule. In Small Sacrifices, true crime author Ann Rule takes readers through one of the most shocking and cold-blooded cases of maternal betrayal. The book explores the twisted story of Diane Downs, a woman who in 1983 shot her 3 children, claiming a mysterious man had attacked them. But from the moment she arrived at the hospital, something about Downs's behavior raised red flags. Her reaction didn't seem like that of a mother who had just witnessed such a horrifying event. As the investigation unfolded, the horrifying truth came to light. Diane Downs herself had pulled the trigger. Her motive: a selfish, twisted desire to continue an affair with a man who didn't want kids. In a chilling act of cruelty, Downs attempted to kill her children to remove the obstacle standing in the way of her relationship. Anne Rule's book doesn't just recount the brutal crime. It takes a deep dive into Downs' life, revealing the darker experiences that shaped her. She herself had been a victim of sexual assault and emotional abuse, and Rule presents this as part of the broader picture. While it doesn't excuse her actions, it does highlight the complexity of how a victim can become a villain, turning evil as a result of their own trauma. Small Sacrifices is a gripping and heartbreaking exploration of how far someone will go to fulfill their desires, even at the ultimate cost. Rule's masterful storytelling keeps readers hooked while forcing them to confront the unsettling reality of a mother's betrayal. Number 7. The Perfect Victim by Carla Norton and Christine McGuire. In 1977, 20-year-old Colleen Stan made the fateful decision to hitchhike near Eugene, Oregon. She accepted a ride from a seemingly ordinary couple, Cameron and Janice Hooker. But what unfolded next was beyond anyone's darkest imagination. After luring Stan into an isolated area, the Hookers trapped her in a locked box, depriving her of light, air, and any hope of escape. For the next 7 years, Stan was held captive and used as a sex slave by Cameron Hooker. Stripped of her identity, she was referred to only as Kay, forced to call her captor master, and kept in a coffin-like box for up to 23 hours a day under the couple's bed. Despite the unimaginable abuse, the Hookers lived a disturbingly normal life, entertaining friends, going about their daily routine, all while their victim remained locked away, suffering in silence. It wasn't until Janice Hooker broke under the pressure of guilt and turned her husband in that Colleen Stan's nightmare came to an end. Janice testified against Cameron in exchange for full immunity, exposing the horrors that had taken place behind closed doors. The Perfect Victim recounts Stan's years of torture in gut-wrenching detail, pulling back the curtain on the terrifying reality of how monsters like the Hookers can hide in plain sight. It's a harrowing reminder of the depths of human depravity and the incredible strength of a survivor who endured it all. Number 6. Invisible Darkness. The Strange Case of Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka by Stephen Williams. On the surface, Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka seemed like the perfect couple. They were good-looking, young and in love, earning them the nickname Barbie and Ken. But beneath their charming exterior lay a horrifying reality, one of cruelty and unspeakable violence. Between 1991 and 1992, the Canadian couple murdered 3 teenage girls, including Carla's own 15-year-old sister Tammy. When they were finally caught, Homolka portrayed herself as another victim, claiming that she had been abused and coerced by Bernardo into participating in the crimes. This claim led to a controversial plea deal, which allowed her to serve just 12 years in prison, while Bernardo was sentenced to life. However, Invisible Darkness pulls back the curtain on Homolka's true involvement, suggesting that she was far from the innocent victim she pretended to be. Stephen Williams' book gives readers a chilling glimpse into what happens when 2 forces of pure evil come together. The detailed, graphic descriptions of the crimes, how they manipulated, tortured, and ultimately killed their victims, are enough to keep anyone awake at night. The case leaves you with one lingering question: how many other monsters like Bernardo and Homolka are hiding in plain sight, waiting to strike? Number 5. The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. Imagine discovering that someone you worked with, someone you sat next to and trusted, was one of the most notorious serial killers of all time. That was the terrifying reality for Anne Rule. While working at a suicide prevention hotline, Rule found herself sitting beside Ted Bundy, a handsome and charismatic man who seemed genuinely good at his job. She would later reflect on the bizarre irony, stating, "Ted Bundy took lives, but he also saved lives." For a time, Bundy vanished from her life, until 2 years later he called her out of the blue. His law school records had been subpoenaed, and he was worried. Rule, unsure of the situation, contacted the Major Crimes Unit, only to be told that Bundy was just one of 1,200 people being checked out in a routine inquiry. But what followed was anything but routine. As the investigation unfolded, the true extent of Bundy's horrific crimes was revealed. Between 1974 and 1978, Bundy had killed at least 30 young women and girls across 7 states. The Stranger Beside Me is Ann Rule's first-hand account of her relationship with Bundy, capturing the chilling moment she realized that the charming man she had worked alongside was a brutal killer. This book is a stark reminder that we never really know the people around us. It's a disturbing, true-life narrative of how evil can hide in plain sight, right beside us. Number 4. Buried Dreams by Tim Cahill. Few names in true crime inspire more terror than John Wayne Gacy, the man responsible for the brutal murders of at least 33 young men and teenage boys. In Buried Dreams, journalist Tim Cahill takes readers deep into the twisted life of this notorious killer, offering a harrowing look at Gacy's 5-year killing spree. The Wall Street Journal aptly described Cahill's account as the stuff of wrenching nightmares, and it's easy to see why. Each of Gacy's gruesome murders is recounted in graphic, unsettling detail. Gacy's method was as chilling as it was effective. He lured his victims with promises of work through his contracting company. Once they were in his grasp, he drugged and restrained them, often muffling their screams with socks or underwear before killing them. Afterward, Gacy would hide the bodies in the crawl space of his suburban Chicago home. By the time police uncovered his gruesome secrets, they had discovered the remains of 27 victims beneath his house. Tim Cahill's Buried Dreams not only documents the horrific details of Gacy's crimes, but also delves into his deeply disturbing past, one filled with abuse and violence. It offers a glimpse into the making of one of America's most infamous monsters, a man whose evil truly knew no bounds. This book is a terrifying exploration of pure malevolence and leaves readers grappling with the question, how could someone so evil hide in plain sight for so long? Number 3. Helter Skelter, The True Story of the Manson Murders by Vincent Bugliosi and Kurt Gentry. The night of August 8, 1969, is forever etched in the annals of true crime history. On that night, Charles Manson, cult leader and master manipulator, ordered his followers, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Charles Tex Watson, to go to 10050 Cielo Drive in Los Angeles and totally destroy everyone in it, as gruesome as you can. What followed was a horrific massacre that shocked the world. The victims that night included actress Sharon Tate, who was just 2 weeks away from giving birth. Alongside her were 18-year-old Stephen Parent, hairstylist Jay Sebring, Wojciech Frykowski, and his girlfriend, coffee heiress Abigail Folger. The brutality of the murders was unfathomable. Sharon Tate, desperate to save her unborn child, offered herself as a hostage, pleading for her baby's life. But her cries went unanswered. Tex Watson later revealed that Tate's last words were, "Mother, mother," as she was stabbed to death. Helter Skelter, written by prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi, who successfully brought Charles Manson and his followers to justice, is an in-depth and chilling account of the events surrounding the Manson family murders. Bugliosi not only provides a detailed recounting of that horrific night, but also dives deep into Manson's twisted ideology, a vision of an impending race war that he called Helter Skelter. This book remains one of the most disturbing and detailed true crime reads to this day, offering a grim look into the mind of a man who turned manipulation into murder. Number 2. The Shawcross Letters, My Journey into the Mind of Evil, by John Paul Fay. Arthur Shawcross, better known as the Genesee River Killer, haunted the streets of Rochester, New York in the late 1980s, stalking and killing sex workers. But his murderous spree didn't begin there. In 1972, Shawcross had already been convicted of killing 2 young children, but thanks to a plea bargain, he shockingly served only 12 years of a 25-year sentence. After his early release, Shawcross returned to killing, this time taking 14 more lives. His horrific methods included not only murder, but also gutting and even cannibalizing his victims. In the Shawcross Letters, author John Paul Fay, a murder memorabilia collector turned biographer, takes readers into the twisted mind of Shawcross. Through their correspondence, Shawcross shared chilling, intimate details of his heinous crimes, details that reveal the depth of his depravity. The graphic descriptions of rape, torture, and murder laid bare in this book are not for the faint of heart. Faye's book offers a terrifying glimpse into the psyche of one of the most disturbed serial killers of all time. Many readers may find themselves questioning whether they should have ever opened its pages in the first place. It's a journey into darkness that you won't forget, even if you want to. Number 1, The Toolbox Killers, a deadly rape, torture, and murder duo by Jack Rosewood and Rebecca Lowe. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris were the definition of sadistic killers. The two men met by chance behind bars, and their twisted partnership would soon leave an indelible mark on Southern California. Known as the Toolbox Killers, their reign of terror in 1979 saw the abduction, torture, and murder of 5 teenage girls over a span of 5 horrifying months. Even more chilling, they recorded their crimes, capturing their victims' pain and their own perverse enjoyment. The brutality of their actions instilled a profound fear in the community, changing how young women navigated the streets of California. The Toolbox Killers, a deadly rape, torture, and murder. Duo delves into the harrowing details of each crime and offers a disturbing look at the psychological profiles of Bittaker and Norris. The book raises haunting questions. What if these two killers had never crossed paths? How could such evil flourish unchecked? As you read through the grisly accounts of torture and murder, you're left grappling with the darkest facets of human nature. The raw, explicit details in this book will test your limits and leave you questioning the very depths of depravity. Thank you for watching Next Chapter Audio, where we bring you the most disturbing, unsettling, and gripping stories from the world of true crime. If today's list left you disturbed or intrigued, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let us know in the comments which book haunted you the most, or if there's another dark story you'd like us to explore. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones walking among us.